Welcome back to the Kingsway Podcast.
Welcome.
Oh my gosh.
This is going to be the most caffeinated episode we've ever had. We threatened this on the 200th episode that I need to do a coffee episode.
Here's
And
the
this is
thing.
it.
Ryan, if you're not listening or if you're not watching on YouTube, Ryan has before me what only can be described as a very, very healthy obsession with with a delicious drink.
Coffee. How does it relate to the Kingsway Podcast? It is the Christian drug. It is the acceptable. No, I'm kidding. I'm semi-kidding, but also fully not kidding at all.
It is. It's hilarious. So it's hilarious knowing the background of. So when we first met, obviously looking for a discipleship pastor that does a lot of music stuff, and you have done a lot on stage and a lot for the culture of Kingsway in the sense of the Christian kingdom work, but also the gospel that has been at the center of your heart the entire time.
The other gospel.
The other one.
I've been the coffee crusader since I got here.
You have.
If you're not watching this episode, you're going to get something out of it. But this is the episode to watch. We have it laid out here on the table that we always record at. From my right, your left, easiest to hardest coffee stuff. And the hardest isn't unheard of. It's espresso.
Yep.
But we're going easiest to hardest.
With an X, right?
Nope. No X in espresso. So we're going my right, your left. Keurig. Then we go to cold brew. Extremely easy.
Okay.
Arguably easier than the Keurig.
Okay.
And then French press, which is just hot cold brew.
Yep.
And then we have a pour over, which is just like your coffee maker at home or the drip coffee maker you grew up on. And then espresso at the end. I've changed out our podcast mugs for these clear little globe mugs. You can kind of see, if you're on the watching, you can kind of see what we're doing.
That's on YouTube if you're looking for it. On the YouTubes.
We're going to go simplest to hardest, except for we need to start with the espresso. It's already brewed. We gotta go. So what I want out of this episode is to have Trevor be the audience.
Okay. I'm going to ask some questions.
Yeah, to say things even if you think they're dumb, like, oh, this tastes really whatever, even if it's obvious.
So here's the thing. The funny thing, I think, is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, is espresso is not as caffeinated as sometimes a cup of coffee, depending on...
Yes.
Okay.
And we'll talk about that. But first, before we get any further, bottoms up. Don't drink the whole thing. Just sip it a little bit.
Very bitter. You know what's funny about those that have never had just like a straight shot, like pulled actually with some decent beans, it is incredibly smooth.
Oh yeah,
like it's very, very smooth.
You do it right.
That's what I'm saying. And for me, like I've had so I'm a late conformer to the coffee phenomenon. I don't know. I think I've told you this before. I didn't drink coffee until my oldest son or my firstborn stopped sleeping through the night, and people kept wanting to meet with me in the mornings. And so we have a local coffee shop, Keen Bean, that was just an easy place to meet. And it was just like one of those, and I would just get there and I would be like ordering tea or like drinking a soda, and I was
just to get the caffeine.
Oh, and then finally, my friend Kevin was like, "Just eat a cinnamon roll and like then chase it with coffee, and it'll taste like cinnamon roll." And then after a while, I just became a real man.
Yep, finally grew some chest hair.
Let me ask you a question. Visually, there seems to be more creaminess in this than normally coffee. Like, what's going on there? That there seems to be almost like a layer on top.
So that's called the crema. Espresso proper was invented in Italy. So crema is an Italian word meaning kind of obviously cream.
So it's the creme de la creme?
So like milk and cream's at the top or something. I don't know anything about milk. But but that's what happens. They see the stuff on top. They're like, coffee with cream from the coffee.
Yep.
That's not true. It's really just that espresso is under such high pressure.
Okay.
And we'll talk more about all this coming up. But it's under such high pressure that coffee naturally has a little bit of gas in it, like carbon dioxide.
Okay.
And it's forced out at such extreme pressure.
So it's coffee farts.
It's bubbles.
Okay.
But instead of like soda or stuff like that, it's like very microscopic, more foamy than it is like bubbly. That's just kind of what it is. You see it when you make a good espresso, usually with fresh beans.
Okay.
It isn't necessary. It doesn't make it taste better. It just is kind of there. Every coffee today that we're going to make is the same bean.
Okay. So
It's
that was
all zinc coffee, Ethiopia, Halo, Buriti.
So what is the main difference then between when I just get this? Like, what is the main difference? I'd
Also,
say when
is
we're
that
making,
too strong? Do you want me to water it down?
What makes this though?
Yeah.
Like different than just like your regular drip coffee. Like if you have a drip coffee at home, like what is the difference between an espresso? Because if it's the same bean,
It's the same bean.
What's happening?
A related question: what are espresso beans in relation to normal beans?
Yeah.
I'll talk about that later too. Hopefully, I want to answer that. But first, you said it's extremely bitter. Now, taste it again. And is it bitter like burnt, or is it strong and acidic like a fruit, like lemons or lime or something?
It's highly acidic. What I mean by bitter is not like
Shocking.
gross or shocking like that. It's more of like if you've ever had like a really, really strong lemon iced tea, right? Or like something, and I know that's like maybe it's more like, I would say it's more like the acidity of a lime than it is a lemon. But it has like, or grapefruit. Maybe grapefruit's a perfect thing where you don't put any sweetener on it and you just take
Maybe peach or citrus,
there you go.
according to the bag.
Is that what it says? Okay.
And also black tea.
So here's the funny thing though. I feel like heat changes that. So how hot this is. So as it cools, I taste it more.
Yeah.
But if it heats up a little bit, just give me a little.
Yeah. So that's one thing I wanted to point out is that it's not. It can be bitter. Espresso can be very bitter because it can be dark.
Yeah. So it's so
dark.
nice.
Dark
so
meaning
nice.
dark roasted, the bean itself. But this one is a kind of a lighter coffee. It's more acidic, even though it's strong and shocking and whatever. So difference number one between espresso and your drip coffee at home is that espresso is a concentrate. You can drink it exactly like that.
Yeah.
It sort of relates to like alcohols. Don't really know a lot about alcohol, but like there are certain alcohols that are pretty concentrated. They have a high whatever ratio.
Yep, proof. High proof.
And so because of that, they're very strong and you're not supposed to just like
Down 'em,
them. That's what espresso is. It's like the high proof version of coffee.
Yeah, and I remember for me, discovery wise, is I went to some coffee shop with Katrina, which Katrina loves the foo-foo stuff, not as much anymore. She has her like 3 to 4 that she orders. But I was asking the difference between, what was the difference between a drip coffee and an americano?
Yes.
And I was like, and that's what they said. They're like, this is just 2 shots with water. And I was like, oh, so why? So the other one's just water and coffee too.
Yeah.
So
basically, the difference is not in how strong it is. The difference in how it was made. It's not. It's the difference between the same cut of steak, but one is like reverse seared and whatever.
Yeah.
And one is just well salted and
So
like cooked on a grill.
What is the
outside.
notes that pull out of a shot rather than over a drip?
Yeah.
Is it going to be more acidic? Is it going to be more deep flavors? Or is it just going to cause a different profile, like a larger profile?
It's all about how quickly it's extracted. So people have done experiments when you make a drip coffee like you do at home. If you change out the pitcher every minute or so of that, they'll all taste different because at the different times from the very beginning of extraction, and extraction is where water interacts with the soluble coffee grounds and pulls out coffee flavor.
Okay.
To where when you remove the water, it's not clear anymore, it's brown, and it has some higher percentage of TDS, total dissolved solids. So there's like little microscopic coffee particles in here, but you don't taste it. It doesn't taste sandy. It's just like tea or whatever. It's extracting flavor. So when you have a drip coffee, you're extracting using all the water.
Okay.
When you have an Americano, you extract with very little water and very aggressively at the beginning. So you get what the beginning of a pour over would be. As if all the stuff you did, you just brewed 1 minute worth of drip coffee and then took it out. And you're supposed to have a lot more water in there. And then you add that water later.
Okay.
That's sort of, it's not exactly the same, but it's the same concept. You're getting the beginning of coffee
So
extraction.
some people like the profile and the taste of that quick extraction over a drawn out pour over, like would be the next one.
So the
Keurig.
Yeah, the way you extract is heat and time and agitation. And so all these methods have a different take on what that means.
Okay.
We're doing espresso, which is high agitation, high heat, kind of almost no time compared to the others.
Yeah.
This pulled kind of long for an espresso. It pulled in 40 seconds. The French press we're going to do is going to take 8 minutes.
Yeah.
The cold brew I have right here took 7 hours, and that's me cutting the time in half. I should have gone twice as long. And so these use a different amount of agitation, a different amount of heat, but then extend the time to get a similar strength.
Okay.
So that's the way it all works. The espresso is just great for like coffee shops. You come in, you order a drink. They can pull, it takes some prep time, but they can pull your shot in like 30 seconds of run time, maybe a minute and a half together with like grinding and doing all the stuff.
And it keeps everything really fresh.
Way quicker than a drip coffee, which takes 4 or 6, whatever minutes, depending on the machine and the method, something like that. So the Americano you were talking about, same general strength depending on how much water you put in as a drip coffee, but it's espresso that's been watered down. It's concentrate, focusing on the kind of acidic, brighter, whatever beginning of the coffee extraction, and then just adding water to it. That came from, the story is, it came from World War II when American soldiers were in Europe and all these Europeans and Italians and French people had espresso machines. And they were like, this is too strong. And they're like, okay, we'll water it down for you Americans.
Yep.
So that's
hilarious.
They extract it a totally different way. They probably roast the beans a different way. They're different quality. But then they just add water to get the same cup. And so it's a different way of getting about the same kind of thing, but it'll have a different flavor. So the bigger you go at a coffee shop with an Americano, they might just still give you 2 shots of espresso. 8-ounce cup, fill it to the top with water. 16-ounce cup, fill it to the top with water. So your bigger cup might be more watery. If you drink an espresso or an Americano and think, this is good, and you want more, ask the coffee shop, like, do you put more shots for more?
Yeah, because I had to learn mine. Mine's 3 shots and a small cup. And no room, or leave a little bit of room, because I didn't even want them to fill it all the way to the top. I'm not adding anything to it, but I just want it super, super concentrated.
So
what's the next one? Or should we get that going while we talk about the next one?
We got 2 before we get to the next one, but I'm going to get this one going. Okay. So this is a cold brew. It's done, but it's water and grounds in the same thing. So I'm going to pour it into a pour over cone just to separate the water and the grounds. This is not me making the coffee. This is me like making it drinkable.
That looks intense.
It is also a concentrate. But it's a concentrate because of just the ratio of grounds to water.
It looks like a Turkish cold brew.
Oh, yeah. It's going to drip for a minute. But if you're on the video, look at this. It's a jar.
Yeah.
That's people think when they think coffee nerd, oh, you're a coffee geek, whatever. Oh, you need to be a $500 espresso machine owning coffee geek to be a coffee geek. This is a jar. I ground coffee. I put it in here. I put in water.
So the magic is time with this one. That's the difference.
Now, how you filter it out? Do you have like a mesh strainer?
Yeah.
Do you put a paper towel over it and try to drip it out?
Grind it up in your
Whatever
teeth
you
like
want
a
to do.
man.
Yeah, or just eat it. Be a man. Anyway, I'm going to let that drip. I'm going to finish my Americano.
It is going to be a lot of caffeine. I'm going to be flying high.
That's why I'm not giving you the full amount of each.
I was going to say, this is insane.
So here's the Keurig. Same beans. Nothing is different about the coffee we put in. I set it to 8, whatever that is. On
8 ounces.
Most coffee, you would think, but it usually means 8 cup. What does 8 cup mean? It's not the same between any machine.
That is not enjoyable. That
tastes like not good stuff.
I can't believe that is the same
coffee. I wanted to give these to you back to back to show you this is better. Maybe if I had a different like reusable K-cup thing, this is better quality and fresher than most Keurig K-cups. But right after that espresso very strong, acidic, like punchy thing. It's like just kind of
tastes like doo doo. Tastes like
it do not taste good.
I'm gonna quote Ted Lasso here. It just tastes like brown water.
Yeah,
like it is not. What is that the legal term for agitator right there? Is that your agitator?
I'm just trying to get it going. I want this to drip
what are we gonna
quicker.
do with this? Because I don't want to drink this.
You can pour it back in here if you want.
It's like, I
don't waste my caffeine limit on that.
I don't want that.
So
Ew.
The thing that coffee nerds don't like about Keurigs and stuff like that, this can be our dump thing.
Now that I've tasted the difference back to back. Now I will say I do think that Keurig is like bottom of the line crummy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like I will say it's like we're not talking about a top of the line, and that may have not been descaled in a while either. So like the water may not be the highest quality there either.
So the issue with Keurigs and then like most drip coffee machines, the Mr. Coffee you get from Walmart, it's not that they're not cool enough for us or whatever. The issue is that you can't control almost any of the variables. How hot is it?
Yeah.
It's Keurig hot. How many degrees is that? I don't know.
You don't like auto driving cars then either, probably, right?
I mean,
you want your hand on the steering wheel, you want the gas pedal, give me the brake pedal.
If you make a Keurig and you think this doesn't taste good, there's no next steps on how to fix it. That's the hard part. But every other method you see in front of you, or as you're listening, every other method we're going to try other than espresso and Keurig is cheaper than a Keurig.
Let me just ask.
French press, cold brew, and pour over are all cheaper.
Let me ask you this, and I know that somebody on the other side of the screen is wondering, do you judge people that have Keurigs and think they're good?
No.
Okay.
Because if you like that, you should keep doing it.
Mm-hmm. Now,
yeah.
What is the next? You think cold brew is the next step up from
the
Keurig?
next easiest thing you can do?
Because here's what I'm going to confess before we try this here in a second. I don't like cold coffee. I'm not a huge fan. And so when Katrina gets like iced coffees or I see somebody with an iced coffee, I'm always just like, yeah. And you know what it reminds me of is like, and this is the way I've always told her, I was like, I've never seen anyone eat cold soup. Like they're just like, I don't want cold soup.
There's like a cold Italian soup. It's like gazpacho or something.
There are, but I'm just saying, like,
I might be wrong on
I
that.
don't want it. Does that make sense? Like it's just something that I'm like, I don't have any desire. But I also know that some people in here have that opinion about cold pizza.
And they're wrong.
And they're wrong because cold pizza is delicious. And so I think, maybe you could change my view today, but I will confess before we try this, I may not be the most accurate, neutral person on cold brew.
Here's my pitch on cold brew.
Okay.
It's the easiest coffee to make.
Okay.
There is kind of inherent in cold brew one or two things that make it great and one or two things that make it less great for people. One is that it's cold. If you don't like cold coffee, why drink cold brew? Two is the flavor. Because it doesn't have heat or agitation much, it's kind of muted. It's very mellow in a way that I don't typically like. Now, what I have in front of us is kind of a hybrid cold brew.
Okay.
It is a cold brew that uses something called a hot bloom.
Okay.
So when you make pour over, and you can do it with the French press, but it doesn't matter as much. You pour in a little bit of water at the beginning because the coffee has that CO2 in it, even the grounds do. And you'll watch kind of the same crema looking thing if it's a fresh enough coffee, recently ground, not like weeks or months ago from the grocery store. You'll watch it kind of bubble up with this light brown foamy thing. Just do that to your cold brew, but then put in cold water.
Yeah.
So that it brews cold for a while, but it has that harsher extraction at the beginning to get the fruity, punchy, whatever. So that's one thing I don't like about cold brew that I've fixed here. Alto Cold Brew has a bunch of great options for great filters. So I have this just in a jar, but you can like put it in like a tea strainer bag.
Yeah.
They sell those, and theirs are really great. They don't have a papery taste or anything. And then you just pick that up at the end and throw it away, and your liquid's still in the container.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cheap. That's the only thing you need to buy. And they're the ones who turned me on to hot blooming cold brew.
That's
so
wild.
Cold brew's misleading now because it's like it was hot brewed for like 45 seconds or a minute. But then it's like cold brew. Then
it was cold brew. Okay.
Here's the second thing. If you don't like cold coffee, you still might like cold brew. Because I brewed it as a concentrate, which means you pour some in and then you pour boiling water. hot
Interesting.
coffee.
Okay.
And you know how quick you get that hot coffee in the morning? If you just have a jar of cold brew in there, like
Real quick.
as fast as you can pour it, like milk or whatever.
That's awesome. So let me ask you this. Before we try the cold brew, should we get the next one ready? Should you should we get the,
Yes.
So we just get it
I'm going to
started?
start making the next one and then we'll do cold brew.
That's what I was saying. We'll do the cold brew in just a second. But
This is a French press. It is just a beaker. It's the same idea as the cold brew.
and what are you doing back here with this little black thing?
I have a scale so I can see how much water I'm pouring.
So you know exactly how much water.
Yes. This is going to seem like, oh, all this equipment's got to be expensive. You coffee geek, you whatever.
No,
It's $15 for the scale.
I was going to say, no.
This is a random kettle.
That is so cool. Okay.
So this way,
what's the ratio here? 'Cause
the ratio for almost all black cups of coffee that you like is about 1 to 16 and a half.
okay.
So I've put in 15 grams of coffee. I'm not going to do that math. I just kind of know it because I've done it enough to 250 grams of water.
Okay.
So
That's what you're going to do.
I'm going to bloom it for the simple reason that I want it to be hot at the beginning.
Okay.
And then I'm going to leave the lid off and let it cool down. I'm going to swirl it around a little bit, although I really don't need to. So you can make a cold brew in this.
Yeah.
It has the beaker part, and then it has this plunger with a mesh filter in it, and you push it down when you're all done, and it holds the coffee grounds at the bottom and lets you pour the good stuff out of the top, the
Yes.
liquid.
This was the one that at a local restaurant or a local shop that I love. I love the French press.
Yeah.
Especially with a high quality coffee.
I'm going to pour some of my water in here to cool it down.
Because with a high quality coffee, I felt like it really did, like you said, like I guess bloom, whatever you want to call it, the freshness of it, very much so could tell the difference between a drip and a French press. And that's so funny. So here's the thought process at home. Like they have larger and smaller French presses, right?
But you can do whatever ratio
But
you
the
want.
ratio's the same. And
Yeah, you can't do a big ratio and a small one, but you could do a small ratio and a big one.
but it wouldn't have changed the flavor profile or
Nope.
anything. Okay, see,
It's
that's
just
what
a
people
glass
need to know.
bowl.
It's just a holding cell for the same thing of different sizes. Okay. Now, do you have a preferred method of the ones that we're trying? You don't have
Yes.
to reveal that now, but you do have one.
I'll just say I do. Okay. That's going to keep going.
Okay.
I'm going to put this lid on at the beginning, but not push all the way down and let it brew. Okay. We're going to try our cold brew.
Okay. All right. So here's the other thing about cold brew. Most of the time with cold brew, I find that people want to add milk or flavoring to cold brew.
Yeah.
Is that true?
It can be.
I feel like it's more accepted.
There's a much smaller crowd who want to just drink iced black coffee.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's more accepted by the the community of I would say connoisseurs of the coffee.
Yeah.
That I would almost say this, the purists of coffee.
Yeah.
That black iced coffee is not the same as hot black coffee.
Yeah, it's different. Who this is great for is people who want to make iced lattes.
Yes.
You're going to be tricked by thinking latte, espresso. I need to pull a shot of espresso to make an iced latte. Really, you need a coffee concentrate to make something like it. So if you have iced cold brew, you don't have to water down your drink by having hot liquid on top of ice. You just pull out your cold brew concentrate.
Yeah.
Onyx Coffee Lab in Bentonville, Arkansas, there are some great coffee people. They do this. They win worldwide awards for brewing and roasting and all this stuff, and they use cold brew concentrate instead of espresso to make cold lattes. So you at home could make really easy cold brew and make all your frou-frou coffee drinks.
You don't have to have a machine to pull shots in order to have that intensity. Now, you bloomed this first, though, too. Is that important for the cold? Did you do that?
I did, for cold brew, I did do a hot bloom. It makes it a little more acidic, which is more what I like. It's still cold.
Is that important for what you just mentioned, or can you do it either way?
For the latte thing?
Yeah.
I think it's important because you're burying the concentrated coffee under milk and sweeteners and whatever. If you want the coffee to compete, give it a fighting chance.
So
Do a
that's
hot bloom to make it stick out a little more.
30 to 45 second hot.
Honestly, like even a minute.
Okay.
And then just dump cold water in there up to, I do a 1 to 5 ratio for cold brew, so that it's about a 3 times stronger than a cup of black coffee. That way, if you want to dilute it down with milk, great.
It's good to go.
Now it's coffee flavored milk.
I was wondering what
it's
the
not
ratio is.
like
That's
a
good. 1
little
to
bit of
5.
coffee in there. Okay,
right.
we're trying cold brew concentrate just out of the glass. Probably not done long enough.
That's somewhere in between, but
Yeah.
much closer to a pulled shot,
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
yeah,
Not nowhere near as bad as the Keurig.
Yeah.
Nowhere near. However, I do think I'd like it better hot.
yeah. Well, we'll get to try that right now. So I had about 30, so I'm gonna make mine a little stronger. And then here's yours. I'm just adding hot water
Yeah.
to our.
And I don't need much. That's like whatever you
I'm
think.
gonna go right there.
Okay.
Okay. Let it sit for a second so it's not like hot and cold at the same time.
Okay.
But yeah, this is room temperature cold brew. Cold brew just means not hot. So room temperature is cold brew. It's not room temperature brew.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, technically, I guess it is cold because we were on at 97 or 98 degrees. So, like, that's technically neutral.
Yeah.
Which is weird to think about, by the way.
So what do you think about this cup of coffee now? Take a swig and tell me. Is that like a normal?
So this is.
I may have put a little too much water.
No. What I would tell you is, if I had that in the morning, I would not be disappointed by any means.
And all you do is just make it at night. It's like overnight oats for coffee. So when you wake up in the morning, this is great for like, you have a flight at 3 a.m. or you have to get up at 3 a.m. to drive to Kansas City for a flight. This coffee's ready. You just pour yourself a glass. And then if you want hot coffee, you can even make this in a stronger ratio. I'll talk about what I'm doing here in a second. But you can even make it in a stronger ratio than I said. And then pour your hot water into it. You can make yourself an iced latte for like no money and no time.
I just think of it as like the flexibility, because if you had a big thing of it in the fridge,
Yes.
and some people like the ice drink, some people like hot, and you only had like one drip coffee maker at your house, and yet you're trying to keep every relative happy that's coming over for a breakfast or for a holiday.
Yeah.
It'd just be the easiest way to be like, no, there's a bunch of cold brew in the fridge, and you can doctor it up, or we have hot water right here that you could add to it if you want to make it hot. You know what I mean?
It's
That to
easy.
me makes a lot of sense. I did not know that you could rehydrate that.
That you could like put
hot water in. And,
so
and,
it's
like,
just
put it
because
back.
it's a concentrate. If you make cold brew
That's
and
what
you
I
make
didn't
it
know. I
at
didn't
a
know it
1
was
to 16
concentrate.
ratio, you shouldn't do that. It's going to be just barely brown water.
And it makes sense that it's concentrate because you do want to. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I would love to put some sort of like half and half in this or something like delicious
Instead of the water.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then make it like almost like a coffee milkshake. You know, like
I keep your ears out. If you're a listener, if you like coffee, if you think this is interesting, I might hard underline all caps be starting a coffee roasting thing.
I know
Anyway,
you're excited about.
I've roasted
potentially
coffee
launching-
for myself for a long time. I might be starting to upscale that and do more for other people. That's not a promise.
It's a huge love of your life.
Yes.
Though. Like, I mean, I was joking about it at the beginning.
I almost
but-
brought the coffee I roasted instead of this, but this is from a roaster that's respectable, so you know it's right. It isn't my special, whatever I did.
Yeah.
It's like people sell this. This
Yeah,
is real
I trust
normal
you.
coffee.
I trust you.
I make it a lot of Wednesdays for a preaching plane.
So here's the funny thing about this. As I'm drinking this, I'm thinking, I wonder if the French press is going to be better. Because I like this more than I was expecting to like it. And I was like, oof. Because it's not that I really just, I have your pour over almost every, or pour over.
Once a week.
Almost every week on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
And I've come to know the difference because most of the time I've had my drip $4.
Keurig.
No, we have the Colombian like brick coffees from Walmart.
Cafe Bustillo or whatever, Bustillo.
We do the
Those
Cafe
are-
Bustillo and the
I like
drip.
those.
They're really good, and they're good.
solid.
It's one of those like it's $4. We can have it. It's pretty decent.
But here's the thing. Those are old.
yeah, very
By the
old.
time you get them,
very old.
So coffee doesn't expire like milk. but it has a freshness like
You were telling me about this.
veggies.
It's wild.
And so the fresher you get it, the better it is. There's a window right at the beginning after you roast coffee that it's like you shouldn't drink it yet. Like minutes after you roast it, you should wait a little bit. It's still letting off those gases and it's not ready.
Yep.
It's like letting a steak rest. But if you're gonna make a light or a medium coffee in a drip coffee machine, you should wait a couple days, 2-3 days. If you're gonna make it in an espresso machine, you should wait like 5-6 days. If you're gonna make anything darker than what I just said, push it back even a couple more days before the light stuff. Maybe it's the other way. Anyway, so like you want to wait a little bit, but the freshness of coffee kind of peaks around a week or 2 weeks after, and it slowly degrades. 6 or 7 or 8 weeks after is still good, okay.
Yeah.
6 months after is old.
Yeah.
Imagine sitting a Pop-Tart out on your counter
Yeah.
for 6 months. It is stale.
Well, the thing that I
and then when you grind it,
recognize-
it gets worse quicker too.
Yeah, I was going to say the thing that I just recognize on Wednesdays when you make the pour over is that I've normally gone from my 6-month-old potentially coffee
Yeah.
made from a drip, like a
maybe older.
$10 drip thing from Walmart, right? And then I've gone to this like hand ground,
Freshly roasted.
measured by grams, freshly roasted coffee with love and care. And the difference is most of the time in the first sip, I'll be like, wow, yeah, that's significantly different and better.
Yep.
But I will say, if you're like me out there and this all seems ridiculous and you've never had like a freshly ground, freshly roasted bean that actually is done with care like this, I did not know. I was
Come to
ignorant.
the church.
I was
I'll do it.
ignorant of that difference, and
Yeah.
it's pretty wild. But I will say in the morning, I'm still the old cowboy, and I just love something really hot and that has
The
caffeine in
heat
it.
is the flavor.
The heat and the caffeine.
pain from
like,
the
I'm
burning.
Like, give me hot and like whatever. Because my first couple sips are always like a little bit of like the embrace of like the ow. Yeah. Like that was exactly what I wanted. Just that hot.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
wait, I'm waiting. I didn't cheat.
Let me get this started and then we'll.
Okay. I want to try it.
Right before we try this French press, I let this French press go for like 8 or 9 minutes.
Okay.
Some people hear the general information of like, let it go like 4 or 5 minutes. That's great. If you want it stronger, it's just like cold brew. Just let it keep going.
Keep going. Okay.
I prefer usually like 8 or 9 minutes, especially with coffee this light. Okay, listen up. If you don't like light coffee, you're wrong, but it's not your fault.
Really? Is it because it gets overcooked?
So coffee is not a bean. It's like a cherry pit. It's the seed of a fruit, like a
Interesting.
cherry, called like a cascara or something. Anyway, it's the like pit in the middle of it.
Okay.
So it's kind of fruity, berry-y. It's supposed to be. Just like a good Wagyu steak is like juicy, meaty, beefy.
Yeah, a little bit nutty.
But when
Yeah.
you cook your Wagyu steak for 50 minutes, is it still any of those things? No, it's ash. It's black and charred and crumbling and falling apart and gray in the middle. If you don't like steak because that's how you've had it, it's
can
chewy.
literally hear your axe grinding
Yeah.
as you're saying this. I have an
So,
axe to grind.
I'm saying this to tell the people out there, you've been lied to. The reason you like dark coffee, well, you may still like dark coffee and that's okay. But I'm telling you, don't say dark coffee is my favorite, light coffee isn't good until you've realized this and tried coffee that people have made well. People like dark coffee because it's been roasted longer. The longer you roast it, the more of that original characteristic from the bean, from the
Okay.
like wine sommeliers. They're like, I can taste that the ground had worms in it or whatever. You're like, sure you can, buddy. That's kind of what's happening. Is the lighter it is, generally the more like original origin characteristics you can taste. The darker it is, it's just been like incinerated. It tastes more like dark than it tastes like a light thing from here or there or whatever. That's okay. But the dark beans look more like pumice stones. They're a lot more porous and soluble, and they just give up. They extract really easy. They give up their coffee flavor quick. Even if they taste like charcoal or ash or whatever, they just give up really quick. Light beans or medium beans don't as easy. in that scale.
And they also have more caffeine, don't they? Like the darker is a little less.
Sort of.
Okay.
So you can fit more coffee by weight that is light coffee into the same space than you can fit dark coffee by weight.
Okay, that makes sense.
Blessings.
So it might just be a ratio issue more than an actual.
You will cook out less of the caffeine
Mm-hmm.
with light coffee. You'll have more caffeine per bean, but you'll have more dark coffee per volume because it's been cooked longer. It has less material in it, so it's lighter. So you grind that dark coffee. If you weigh it out on a scale, you'll get about the same amount of caffeine.
And it's like
if
80
it's by
milligrams per 8-ounce cup or whatever
something
like that.
like that.
Okay.
Anyway, so they're roughly equal in caffeine depending on if people use volumetric or weight.
Mm-hmm.
How much space does it take up or how heavy it is? It'll change the amount of caffeine per. But the big thing I'm trying to say is you probably don't like light coffee because of the Keurig or because of the Bun coffee machine. Because if you've ever tried a light coffee, it needs something to fight it harder to give up as much coffee flavor, to extract flavor and whatever. It needs something to fight it harder. So it needs more time or more heat or more agitation or more of all of those. Your Bun coffee maker, your Keurig, doesn't know the difference. It can't fight harder against light coffee. It just under extracts it. That's why it's watery and you don't like it.
Yep.
But light coffee has a lot to give. So if you're using a manual method, French press, cold brew, pour over, you have the ability to say hotter water, finer grind, more time, stir it up or whatever, do more stuff to get more flavor out of it, and then taste the goodness of a light coffee or a medium coffee.
And Clay, I hope you're paying attention to this right now.
No, Clay knows all about this. Clay knows. Anyway, so that's my spiel. If you don't like light coffee, I'd love to convince you that you do. So here's the French press.
This French press is very good. I've already taken a couple sips because I was listening, but I didn't even know I had it. I had it in my hand.
Yeah.
However, it's exactly what I expected.
Yeah. What do you taste or notice?
Here's what I wish we would have just done. I wish you would have like gone behind the table and see if I could even told the difference between the cold brew and this. Because I think once you put the hot water in, if you'd have been like, hey, which one is it? Because this has very similar intensity, very similar, like I would say, palate breath.
It's the same beans.
It is, but again, the Keurig was terrible. So like I was like expecting.
I want you guys to know I was on Reddit. I was looking up everything I could to make this the best Keurig I could with a lightish coffee, and it's just not meant for that. It can't get hot enough. It can't add more time or whatever. It's just making it the way it knows how to make coffee, and it's built around
I would be
darker coffees.
Curious if there was like a way that you could like, I don't even know what you could do. Like there's a way that you could like pour like if you had a Keurig and you could pour your hot water into like the thing.
You could, but at that point, save your money. Don't have a Keurig.
Yep.
Save your money. This is what I usually use for a pour over. It's a Hario V60. That's like the classic brand. It's like the Ford or the Toyota or whatever. This plastic dripper cost $15. You have no excuse.
Yeah.
The French press I have, it's glass, but it costs like $25. You can even get them cheaper. You have no excuse for like, my equipment. I don't want to invest more money. It's fine. You're good.
What do you think about these? Have you noticed any differences? Is there any?
Yes.
Have you had a preference of the 3 that we've had already, or the 4 that we've had?
So I'm about to start making this pour over. This is the last one we're doing. This is a drip coffee machine, but you're doing all the pieces.
Yeah, it's like an ancient drip coffee machine.
Yeah, it's like how the pioneers did drip coffee or something like that. So what I noticed about the French press is that it was a little weaker to me. Here's why. I used the same ratio. I used the same water temperature. I used a coarser grind, which means you're going to extract less flavor.
Yep.
But depending on the method, you do want a coarser grind or you do want whatever. But the difference is this is percolation because it's dripping through the water's moving through the coffee. Cold brew French press, they're immersion.
Okay.
So you like chemists will really get this, but the water to coffee grounds, water is a solvent. It is coming in and extracting some amount of dissolvable solids
I just don't. I don't want to go past the word percolate for a second. I don't know if I've heard.
Need to let you percolate on that.
I'm worried that word got overlooked and how much that is actually the method here. Let's get it percolating while we wait.
How many? I wanted to make a reference to a previous episode, but how many of those people in that band have died from old age?
God, don't forget. Oh my gosh. But
so
that's cool. So it's literally called the percolating method or whatever.
It's a drip method but it's percolation versus immersion. Immersion has one amount of solvent.
If there was a word that I didn't think was going to get used in my lifetime, it was percolation.
I forgot my white lab coat.
I'm telling you right now, I am all in right now on the level of understanding that you have.
There was a machine before the drip coffee machine that everybody had called a percolator. Maybe I'm saying that wrong. It looks like a kettle, but you put the coffee in it and it like cycles hot water through a bunch. It extracts pretty harsh.
You know what? The visual of this percolation process that's going on right now in the drip method is now making so much more sense to me just by that word. I'm sorry to steal. I'm
glad.
I just wanted to give a little bit of a highlight to that word because of how rare.
Yeah.
I don't know if I know of another place that it's used accurately, not as a description. Mm-hmm. It's like, no, this is actually the process.
Yeah, I'm going to let this thought percolate or whatever.
Yes.
So the reason that a pour over or a percolation method can work more strongly, it can extract more, which doesn't always mean better tasting or more flavor. But the reason it can extract more and be a little more caffeinated is because it's always introducing new solvent.
Yep.
The solvent that has already taken some of the coffee flavor and extracted it left. It went through the coffee and left out the bottom of the filter. Now there's new stuff that has no dissolved solids in it, or at least like the minerals from your tap.
Yeah.
The water. So anyway, it's like it's able to pick up more stuff because it's not burdened down with the stuff it already has. One big point I want to make real quick. This is going to make me seem like such a nerd.
We're there.
So notice earlier I said the coffee in your cup of black coffee is usually about a 1:16 ratio. 1 part ground coffee, 16 and a half parts water. How important is the quality of your water? It is 16 and a half times more important. That's not totally true. But it's like you're drinking mostly water.
It's at least 4 times as important.
So when you make coffee, put water into your coffee that you would want to drink if it wasn't in your coffee. Yep. Don't use tap water full of sulfur that you don't want to drink, but I'll put it in my coffee maker. Don't do that. You're going to drink it anyway. If your fridge has filtered water, if you don't have any of that, get like a Brita pitcher or like the dispenser kind of one that you just fill up from your tap and it filters it. That's going to be even if you don't leave this episode and you still make Starbucks in your drip coffee machine, just use good water. You'll notice a big difference.
I think that's really important too, because I know anybody that makes dough or wonders how like good bread or good like pizza dough is made, they will tell you the number one thing that makes good dough is good water. It's like having the correct water makes all the difference. So, yeah, that's yours. The other one.
I'm gonna dump these out. So
yes,
that we don't die from a heart attack.
I think that's
over caffeination. One thing I want to point out about the French press, if you're watching, if you can see the bottom of those cups.
Yeah, we got a little leftover.
Because it has a metal filter, it's just a mesh screen, you'll get a little bit of like silt, like sandy kind of silt at the bottom of your cup, which is why you saw me when I poured the French press, pour it very slow so that it kind of settles back down to the bottom and doesn't get into your cup. That's why I have less than normal, but we still have some.
Well, what's funny is I have like a horrible memory of being in in Egypt, and we went to a local coffee shop, and we ordered a couple coffees and some like breakfast Danishes, I think, just like, and I did not realize it was a Turkish coffee.
Yep.
And so we were like finishing up, and as I was leaving, I like stood up and I was like, I'll just down this last bit of my coffee. And just filled my mouth with grounds because I didn't know that that's the method they used.
That's when you eat the coffee.
Oh, it was so gross. I felt so bad because I like got a napkin and it was like a mess. I was like, this American's making a fool of himself in the middle of this cafe in the middle of Cairo.
That's why I like Espresso usually doesn't have that big of an issue with that.
Yeah.
But then pour overs and stuff like your drip coffee maker at home has the paper filter. If you don't like eating coffee grounds, that's a pretty surefire way to not eat them, is to not have them get in there in the first place. If you have a keen eye and you've been a podcast watcher for a while, I say watcher, not listener, you'll notice that the thing I'm brewing coffee in is usually up there. It's usually on the back wall above Trevor's head by the Oregon flag and the little sharpshooter
Did anyone catch
statue.
that before we just mentioned it? If you did, leave a comment or let us know. I will be very impressed.
Yeah.
No cheating.
But it's not just decoration. It is just decoration, but it's
darker
useful.
visually.
Yep,
Visually,
because it extracted more.
It looks darker.
This light coffee kind of looks more tea-like in these glasses because it's light. The stuff it's pulling out is lighter, but this extracted better, so it looks darker in the cup.
It's also
thicker.
hotter, so I'm going to have a hard time because
Yeah.
I really enjoy hot coffee.
That's, I think, the way this is meant to be enjoyed.
That's the best cup. That's the best cup. Like, that's not even close to me either.
And you know what? This was $20. It's the cone to do the dripper in and the vessel to, like, the coffee to settle in, where, like, this over here is a $15 cone and then a little glass thing to put in. You don't need that. Just put it all in the same thing.
What's this thing called?
It's the Bodum something. But the Hario V60 is just as good. I use a Chemex. They're all just the same thing.
He's
They're just
making
a
these up.
dripper.
They're not real product lines. These are
Beep Boop 412 or whatever. They're great. Anyway, making coffee really good doesn't have to be expensive. The thing you should spend your money on if you want good coffee is good coffee.
Yep.
And then the water and the grinder are the next most important things.
Okay.
The water's the thing you mostly drink when you drink coffee. And then the grinder determines how evenly the little particles are distributed. If you get a blade grinder, that's just like, how long am I chopping this up for? There's no way to know how big those things are in relation to each other. You're just kind of...
You're hoping.
Whatever. So like a conical burr grinder is a great place to start. I did most of this on different hand grinders.
Dude, you are opening up my, that's a concordance word for me. What was that word that you just said?
Hand grinders?
No, the type of grinder that it uses.
Conical burr.
There we go.
Conical comes from cone, just like these dripper cones.
Yeah, conical burr. Obviously. That's No, it's here's the funny thing. Like, I think when you're engrossed and you are all in on something.
I know all the words.
I can say words that you wouldn't know in disc golf and have a clue.
Pure Italian plastic.
All right, you just wouldn't have it.
Yeah.
And I think the interior tooling of the interior lower half of the rim can have a huge difference in grip. You would be like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
The basket, the disc.
Yeah. So like, I think there's just something about it that. Here's the thing I love. If you have never had something that you've gone all in as a hobby or something that you love, I think it's amazing how we're built as human beings to just naturally learn and grow and make something better and gain a little bit of understanding. I know this isn't necessarily a free hobby, but it's a really fun one to share.
Yeah.
And it's not that expensive to get into.
Yeah. The starting equipment for this is to you can start with grocery store coffee. Just find the best grocery store coffee.
Yep.
The stuff that
we're blessed with so many coffee shops. I would say go to a local coffee shop and then
buy some of their coffee.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. With some of these methods, you can pare it down to make a cup at a time.
Yeah.
So when a lot of people make a pot in the morning of coffee, it's like 6, 7, 8 scoops, make a big old thing, leave the burner on so that the coffee in the thing just keeps cooking all day and it gets crusty on the bottom and weird. This cup of coffee right here is like half of a scoop or a scoop or something. Mm-hmm. It's like I did 15 grams to 250 grams of water, 15 grams of coffee grounds. You can go through like this bag at Zinc, which is in Joplin, cost $30. That was a lot of money for that bag. I got it as a gift for a thing, for my wife winning trivia. But you can find them for like $18 or whatever. That's a lot if you're gonna put this through your coffee grinder and into a big drip coffee machine. This is like 4 pots or 5 pots, but this is like 15 of these single black cups of coffee.
Yeah.
So you can get good coffee and enjoy it and string it out over a longer amount of time. Or if you like iced coffee drinks, do the cold brew kind of stuff.
The cold
and
brew
just
is
make
the
the
thing I'm taking away
concentrate
from it.
every day or a big amount once and drain it or whatever. It'll last for a couple weeks to a month
That's so
in your
cool.
fridge.
And that
So-
to me makes the most sense. But
Yeah.
again, I think you have to at least try it once to at least know the difference. I know it's
And
probably
if
like,
you live in Mount Vernon, where our church is,
yeah, come and
hit
find
me up.
Ryan. He'd
I'll make
love
you
to
something.
He probably will have something before you were like,
Yeah.
you even ask. He'll be like, yeah, I'm ready. Give me 10 minutes. I can't tell you how many times he's been like, do you need a cup of coffee? And I'm like, I would love a cup of coffee.
yeah. If you find me at the church, just say, hey, do you have any coffee? And I'll hand you a thermos and say, take this. You'll need it for the journey.
So last two questions. This is absolutely your favorite. Is the
Between espresso and pour over kind of stuff, because you can do so much with them. You
Yeah.
can make all different kinds of coffees, light, dark, whatever, and you can make them into a bunch of different drinks. So with espresso, you're making shots. But you could drink those shots straight up. You could make a small Americano, just water it down a little bit to be a strong cup of coffee, but not abrasive. You can make a cortado. Oh, we didn't even talk about espresso drinks.
I know.
That'll be a whole other episode, maybe. But if you want it to be, hit us up in the comments and let us know. But you can make like 20 different
Well, and that's what I was going to say.
espresso-based
I
drinks.
really like the intensity
Yeah.
of that. And that's like why I get Americanos
Yeah.
normally rather than drips wherever I go, because
Yeah.
I want that to feel that way.
But then with the pour over, change your water temperature, change your grind
Yeah.
size. You can change everything with the same beans, everything about the taste of your cup of coffee.
So
by
here's the
doing that.
last question I have for you. Does
Yep.
decaf do anything if you just switch your beans to decaf? Does it change anything that we've done today, or is it just the same?
Sort of. So, blind study done by James Hoffman. James Hoffman and Lance Hedrick are some of my favorite coffee YouTubers. They're like borderline in the competition and research world of coffee.
Love that.
If you didn't know that existed, now you do.
Hyperlink.
They're both in Europe, but Lance Hedrick's American. James Hoffman did a blind test
Okay.
with him and his staff members, giving them caffeine and decaf on different days, and then testing their awakeness and alertness and whatever. And he said nobody who didn't know what they were getting and just drank coffee showed any significant change
Yep.
in like alertness or awakeness. It was because their body had the habit of, I like my special drink in the morning, that they felt the like
Yep.
ups and downs and whatever.
100%.
So you don't need the caffeine. But when you're talking about brewing coffee, the decaffeination process, it happens before beans are roasted.
Okay,
When they're
that's
still
what I was
green
wondering. Yep.
and unroasted. So coffee people will roast them. And then when you get them, the thing you need to try to avoid, although you can still make great espresso with them, is high heat.
Okay.
Old coffee and highly processed coffee, again, before roasting, like it, I don't even know how to explain half the words. Highly processed coffee, old coffee, and decaffeinated coffee all get a little strange and weird when you try to maximize extraction. The most heat, the most time, the most
They don't like
agitation. It shows off some weirder flavors. But if you back off on some of that extreme heat or whatever, even more than you would for your normal caffeinated stuff, you'll find like the same good sweetness and enjoyability. Decaf is not bad coffee.
No,
no matter
I've had-
what somebody tells you.
I've had some really good decaf coffee. In fact, some of the times that I've most enjoyed it is when we stayed places like a VRBO or like some sort of vacation rental
Yeah.
that had a really nice coffee
Yeah.
machine that we just used decaf. And it was nice at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
Decaf is another area where people have done you wrong in life. It'll be a roaster who doesn't care as much about their decaf. So they just kind of put out a product, but they don't like it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's not going to taste as good. But there are other decafs that people put energy into that are good.
Well, Ryan, this has been awesome. And I'm sure if you're still listening,
I
you-
could have gone for another 3 hours.
I know you could. And here's the beauty of this. You just got one of the best, I think, laid out lessons on what you could do for coffee. And there's not a single machine up here, although you did pull the shots with our machine over
And
there.
then the Keurig.
And then the Keurig. But
Most of this was just glass and
just-
kettles. Nothing needed
Yeah.
a like gooseneck kettle with really controlled pours except for the pour over.
yeah.
But you could do anything else.
It really does highlight the quality of the water, the quality of the coffee. But it's just fun to learn and to gain some understanding. I learned things today, so I hope you did too. If you have a comment for Ryan, or you want to encourage him, or tell him, or if you want to tell him he's wrong,
or if you want me to make you a drink,
yes, and if you want to come and have a drink, if you're at Kingsway, and he'll make you a coffee drink, and we have some of the equipment to do that. He'd love to.
We'll sip coffee and talk about Jesus. And
absolutely,
it's my favorite thing.
As always, if you think someone would enjoy this or find this fun or informational, or you just want it to be something that you want to prove to somebody that coffee's more than just the Keurig that they've been listening.
I'm like a coffee making snob, not a coffee drinking snob. Yep. You can drink your Folgers and we can be friends.
Yep.
That's fine.
However,
I just want to expose you to the world of good coffee and ruin your wallet for the rest of your life.
That's like me with steak. I'm like, you can have your well done steak, but would you just try my medium steak? Like, like just once. So, well, as always, thank you, Ryan, and thank you for watching and listening. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. Like and share, leave a review.
Tamp that like button.
Yeah. What do you percolate and make sure you spread the word.
Okay, we're done.
Thanks so much for watching. Have a great, glorious day in the Lord. We'll see you later.
See ya.